All right, we are recording for chapter 6 of. Yes, I'm pointing the right way. That one. The Star Wars Trilogy. And there's actually a page I want to read some from, but yeah. Um, so yeah, just going over some of this stuff. One thing that I'm kind of glad I talked so much about in one of the previous parts. Hang on, let me adjust that down a little bit. I'm slouching a little bit, and hopefully this will be a short one because it's actually quite late. I really want to get to bed. Um, excuse me. So I'm glad I talked about in previous ones how this version of Kenobi seems much more experienced than in the movie. Um, because it helps things make sense. It really does. So like one of the things is that when they find the sandcrawler that has been attacked by the Imperial stormtroopers, Luke first says he thinks it's the Sand People, the Tusken Raiders, because that's what it looks like. He even sees, some evidence of it. Instead of Kenobi going, no, that's this and this and this, like he just knows, it actually describes it more as he's actually looking at it. He's investigating the evidence, and his experience is telling him, no, this is a setup to make you think it's the Raiders, make anyone who happens upon this think it's the Raiders, but no, it was Imperials. Which the evidence is still the same, that it's well, instead of them marching, is that they actually use banthas. But they're side by side. Sand people always are in single file to hide their numbers, just like in the movie. Well, they got it out of the book. And also these shots are too precise. Sand people aren't that precise. No one on Tatooine is that precise. Only Imperial stormtroopers would be that precise. So yeah, it is much more reasoned in this because he has the experience and you're just seeing him apply it. So I do like that. Because as I said, in the movie, he seems more knowing, like before even getting there, was aware. Which, in a way, it does kind of suggest that he did have some awareness of it, because there's some smoke over there. Let's go investigate. And Luke's like, I don't see anything. Well, let's go and look anyway. Somebody may be in trouble. Almost like Kenobi is just aware of it, which I'm not to the point of the whole, as though millions of voices, millions of lives cried out for help and was silenced, and so, or whatever that exact line is. Haven't gotten to that yet, but perhaps it is helping to set up that he does have a certain cognition, a certain awareness of cognizance. Sorry, not cognition, cognizance of what's going on around him. Yeah. Anyway, so I do like that. I'm actually gonna skip a little bit to. Okay. You again get his experience revealed, I guess, in the cantina. So skipping ahead, I'm gonna come back. Because obviously in the movie you do see him, he certainly cuts off one guy's arms. The arm of one guy, he does a little bit does something else. You don't have to see that in the film, which, to be fair, it's PG film. They don't want to show everything. But in the book, there's actually 3 aliens. Well, one human, 2 aliens. The human he cuts the arm off of, and the other 2 aliens he cuts in half, and they, okay, which is a bit more intense. I can understand that not being in the movie, but it also describes something else that I don't recall being in the movie, which is that he, before putting the lightsaber away, does like a pose with it, like in just raising it up, almost like a salute, and then he puts it away. But it's also, even before that, he held it up in a certain pose. And it's not specifically stated in here, but I think the clear implication that they're trying to do here is that he is trained, that he has his training and just activated. That's why he was so fast, but it's also why he's now doing these specific poses. That's been ingrained in him, which really is important for a couple things. It further cements his experience, and it also, Luke might not really pick this up, really be aware of it, but it does help set up why the other people in the cantina show him more respect, and does specifically say, yeah, they stay away from him now. Because it's not just, oh, he's fast, oh, he's skilled. No, he is experienced. This is an actual legitimate warrior who will kill you if you are a problem to him. I mean, this wasn't a fluke or anything. I guess a possible comparison might be if you have ever seen the Seven Samurai. I don't remember the character's name, but the one who is like the most experienced and skilled swordsman there, how he's introduced is he and another samurai are basically just doing a mock duel with sticks, or maybe they were actually wooden swords, and the other guy is like, nah, we were even. It's like and some people around him, including like the actual main character samurai, the senior samurai who's bringing them all together, is like, no, this wasn't even close. This guy totally won. And when that guy, the most skilled swordsman there was like, no, you lost. And the guy's like, no, I didn't. No, you did. And he's like, prove it. So it's like, all right, they pull out their swords, and it is, you don't even see in the film. You have no idea what actually happened. He's that skilled. Cuts him in half. Well, not really in half, but does strike him down because he is that far above the other guy. It sets up something kind of like that. This Kenobi is that skilled a warrior compared to everyone else. So yeah, it's really neat to see it in there. In the implication, though, which is either Luke doesn't know, or it's just say, you know what? You can read it between the lines. We don't need to say it. Either way, it works. Alright, so that basically finishes talking about Kenobi. Okay. So, they find Sandcrawler. Luke basically figures out that they were probably after the droids. It's not... Why he makes that leap is not completely clear. Because technically it's... Well, I guess it doesn't help that it's actually been a couple days since the last chapter. I'm sorry, it's getting late, so my brain is not turning over as well as it should. But it's not necessarily clear why he would make the leap that the Imperials are hunting for the droids. It's not exactly clear. We know that is the case. But it's just, even something like, I don't even think it has a line of, yeah, let me see if I can find it. It's not really even, there's not even really like a line. It's more like just, it's a gimmick in some writing where basically somebody's brain is just working so fast that you're just skipping the details there and getting from one conclusion to the next. It's kind of doing that, and it's like, it would have been nice if it were a bit more clear there, because you are supposed to be in Luke's head for this. So it would have made sense. It's like, why would anyone go after them? Why would the Imperials go after them? Wait, the droids have an association with the rebellion. If they just add that in, just that small reminder, because otherwise it is this leap. And even though I get it, I know because the movie, I've seen it so many times, and it is kind of the only thing. And maybe if I had just read the previous chapter right before, it would be a more obvious thing. But still, I would have appreciated just a small thing there. Even something along the lines of why would the Imperials have any interest in Jawas? Imperials would only be interested in the rebellion. Oh, even if it was something like that, just the whole Jawas shouldn't be of any concern. But anyway, so it's like, yeah, that would be nice. After that, that's not actually in my notes. He goes off to the homestead, like is in the film, but what actually happens there is very different. For one thing, like in the movie, it's like he just gets out of the land speeders, looking around, and he just takes all in silently and recognizes what has happened, and then just kind of has that, glance down and look back up at things being so different for him now. In the book, no, he's actually running into the buildings. He's actually trying to run in to find Uncle Ono and Aunt Beru, or better, not find them, because that means they got out. But the heat and the smoke keeps pushing him back, so he's not able to go in because of what's going on there. Then he does finally spot the two bodies, so he knows they are dead. And he actually then turns and collapses down, buries his head in the sand. So he's not looking at them anymore. You're basically looking anywhere but there. Which either way works. Okay, let me be clear. Either way works. I kind of like this better because even though he's 20, he is acting more like a child in this, so that is more the reaction I would expect from somebody who is less mature. What you see in the movie is a bit more mature, but it also it makes it's almost too mature, too stoic, especially for what happens next. And this is why I actually am holding on to the book. So this is he's now returned and he's talking. Well, he actually hasn't said anything yet. But Kenobi comes up and just says, "I share your sorrow, Luke." He finally ventured softly. "There was nothing you could have done. Had you been there, you'd be dead now too, and the droids would be in the hands of the Imperials. Not even the Force. Damn your Force!" Luke snarled with sudden violence. Now he turned and glared at Kenobi. There was a set to his jaw that belonged on a much older face. "I'll take you to the spaceport at Mos Eisley, Ben. I want to go with you to Alderaan. There's nothing left here for me now. Left for me here. And then I want to learn to be a Jedi like my father. He paused, the words backing up like a logjam in his throat. So I like this better. I do like this better because what we're basically seeing here is he is just angry, he's filled with rage, and he is running away. Like, legitimately, that's what he's doing here. He is so upset, he's so angry, he is trying to run away from what has happened. He's not really trying to face it, he wants to run away, which is a very, very appropriate response. I'm very good with this. In the movie, it's far more stoic, like he's already thought this through, which there's nothing wrong with that, but it's like, it's not necessarily sensible unless it is you're really trying to age him, well, mature him rapidly, which is a thing that's very possible. But I do think that this is probably better. It also may work better for a book because there is more time that it's spent going through, more ways that you can see the character developing, such as internally, because you can be in their heads. You're not just getting the perspective from a camera and microphone. So yeah, I want to say I like this better. I do think that this is better. Because I guess another way to put it is we're seeing character development, whereas in the movie it's almost like boom, he's developed. But then I think, I'm trying to remember, even after that happens though in the movie, he can still be childish. Where like the whole 10,000 when they're negotiating with Han, which is in this chapter, in 10,000, you can almost buy our own ship for that. And who would pilot it? To you, kid? Yeah, I could pilot. I was like, that is still a kind of childish reaction, a certain immaturity. So in this, him being that still kind of immature, just trying to run away, it makes perfect sense. In the movie, it doesn't necessarily make as much sense, especially in comparison. Was that it? I think, except for two quick things. One is the destruction of Alderaan is set up or predicted in the book, depending on how you want to look at it. Gets about a full page worth, where basically Tarkin, Vader, and an admiral and the general who Vader choked out earlier, even though they don't necessarily get along, are all together and basically looking at a screen trying to decide, okay, Death Star is fully operational, what do we do now? But this is also after Leia had been tortured, and Vader is actually complimenting her, talking about how he didn't think she would be that resilient. She has actually been resisting quite effectively, and he's impressed. And Tarkin is basically saying, yeah, well, your ways aren't always the best ways. And Vader's like, no, they're fast and efficient. I just need a little bit more time. And Tarkin is like, well, I got another idea. And he does basically say that testing the weapon on Alderaan is going to be an effective way to also loosen her lips. So it is better set up. That's not a positive or negative against the movie, to be fair though, because I mean it's a book. You can spend that page doing that. You can do a setup that it should just be the next chapter. Maybe one more chapter before we get to that. Whereas in the movie, it being basically all in one scene that she is brought there. He's showing off Alderaan and boasting about the Death Star, and then actually destroys Alderaan. Having it all together, it does work very well in the movie, and it's very appropriate for the movie. But in a book, yeah, you can space it out because it also helps show basically Tarkin always planned to do this, which in the movie you definitely know as well. But there is almost that element of she lies to them and says Dantooine, even though, and Tarkin's like, no, that's too remote. That's not developed enough. There's no way you'd have a base there. So it's like even he's reasoned out in the movie that it's like, you're probably lying to me, so I'm going to do this anyway. In this, it's like, no, he's always intending to do that. So it does make him a bit more cold, which is desirable for Tarkin. And then last thing, they're not parsecs. They're time units. Sorry, it's like, complete the Kessel Run in how many parsecs? It's like, that's the unit of distance, not time. Which is actually really funny. When you think about it, because people have tried to legitimize that as, no, it's because the Millennium Falcon is figuring out the shortest path through there, whereas other navigational computers have had a harder time finding that out, so it actually is a longer total path, and so that's why parsecs is, it's like, no, it literally is units of time. In the here, let me just find it. It's a ship that made the Kessel Run in less than 12 standard time parts. So it's like, technically this is older, so this should be more so the canon than the movies. So it's, stop with that. Parsecs is wrong. Just accept it. Now I actually do wonder, because technically there are levels of canon for Star Wars where these rank. Because I can understand that because the movies are the more popular one, and is a movie franchise more than a book franchise, at least as far as popularity, that it's like, no, that's still the higher canon, but I also feel like, yeah, but parsecs doesn't make any sense. You have to do mental gymnastics for it to make sense, whereas here, it is a unit of time. I feel like even somebody's like, no, the movies are the canon, it'd still be like, okay, yeah, on that we'll go with the book. They made a mistake in the movie. Just go with that. This is right. So yeah, I like that. It'll also be interesting because will we see? Yeah, I'm gonna quickly look. Oh, going somewhere solo. Perfect. I just want to specifically see, is this? Okay, that's interesting. We do the encounter with Greedo, but I don't know if he's actually named here. I'll find out when I do the next when I read the next chapter. I'll find out then. But yes, we do get the encounter with Greedo, and it will be interesting to see, does he shoot first? I hope so. He did. Han shot first. And this, not necessarily, the idea of changing that so that he's not so cold, it's like, it's Han Solo. He's not exactly meant to be, he's one of the heroes, but that doesn't mean he has to be a good guy. I mean, it's like, what about Chewbacca, who rips the arms off of people for losing at that chess game? That's definitely a bad guy. That's bad guy behavior. He's still one of the heroes. I was like, we're not editing that out. So, come on. But yeah, Han shot first. Okay, and it'll probably be that way in the book as well. So, we'll find out, though, next time. All right, see you then.